The Israeli military has stepped up its operations, meanwhile, in southern Gaza, despite international criticism over mounting civilian casualties in the city of Rafah. Israel's national security advisor says the offensive in Gaza is expected to go on at least until the end of the year.
Well, that's a disaster, especially when you consider the high civilian death toll in Gaza that Israel has already racked up. But Israel has also announced that it has taken full control of the entire Philadelphi corridor, something that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced weeks ago that he wanted to do. And this runs along the Gaza-Egypt border, and it further threatens the flow of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, which has not been adequate since the beginning of this war. We're dealing with famine in the northern half of the Gaza Strip already, and it's been incredibly difficult to facilitate humanitarian aid deliveries in the Gaza Strip due to the destruction of infrastructure, due to the obstacles that Israel has basically put in the way of deliveries of humanitarian aid. That's a complete and utter disaster. But let's talk a little more about what this Philadelphia corridor is, what this means. Let's take a look at this map, because if you're not familiar with the corridor, it's a term for the buffer zone that makes up the border between Gaza and Egypt. Gaza's only other land borders are with Israel, which means that Israel now controls the entirety of Gaza's borders. Cenk, what do you think about this?
So guys, this is an epic disaster, not just for Rafah and for Gaza, which I'm gonna explain in a second, but also potentially for Israel, because they just violated the Camp David Accords. And they killed 2 Egyptians while doing so. So we're gonna get to more details of that in a second. But how much is Netanyahu going to antagonize the entire world and get them to loathe Israel, just thinking in his ultimate arrogance, it doesn't matter, Israel and America, who we have in our back pocket, which is true, can withstand anything. But why? Why are you antagonizing the whole world? Why are you antagonizing Egypt, Iran, Lebanon, and trying to get Israel into the biggest war we've ever seen? I think this is madness. An Israeli military spokesperson said they're cutting off the oxygen of Hamas. No, 2/3 of the aid has now been cut off into Gaza. They're cutting off the oxygen for all the Palestinians in Gaza. It's a meta George Floyd moment. Israel is basically kneeling on the neck of the Palestinians, not for 8 minutes, but for 8 months. They're gonna starve. 2/3 of the aid is now cut off because they got this crossing. Unfortunately, more devastating facts from on this story.
All right, so the point is Netanyahu is gonna do what Netanyahu does as long as the US supports him. He took control of the Philadelphia corridor, which was supposed to be, another big issue that he wasn't supposed to do, but Biden's gonna allow him to do whatever he wants, okay? They're gonna wipe off Palestinians from the Gaza area completely. That is what the plan is. I can't believe anyone denies it. It's so obvious. It is so obvious, okay? And they're doing it with bombs that the United States is paying for and providing. Okay, that is what's happening right now. That's the whole story. 2 Egyptian soldiers killed, okay, at that border, very likely by the IDF, even though we're not getting many details about it.
Well, who
else would do it? So when this war expands to Iran, to Egypt, to all these other Middle Eastern countries, because we're dealing with a belligerent Israeli government, the question is to the Americans watching right now, are you comfortable with your money supporting this genocide in Gaza? And yes, it's a genocide. It is as clear as day.
Yeah, so guys, something that Anna said earlier is really important. So now Israel is saying, not only are we not going to end this soon, we're going to do this destruction of Gaza until the end of the year, 7 more months. Already 80% of the Palestinians in Gaza are displaced. What do you want, 100%? Already they needlessly, for no reason at all. I mean, they always have their BS propaganda. But it was after they had cleared the area, they destroyed every university in Gaza. Now they've taken the Philadelphia corridor, which was to be administered by the Palestinians and the Egyptian side. So they violated the peace treaty that has worked brilliantly with Egypt all these years. And now they're saying we're not gonna stop. We're just gonna keep squeezing and squeezing and killing and moving, killing and moving. And you saw what happened in Rafah a couple of days ago, the 45 people killed. But remember, everybody's focusing on the 45 people killed because there was video. Right afterwards, they killed another 21 people in exactly the same situation in another tent camp. But since there wasn't video, almost no one's talking about that. And almost all the time and overall in the numbers, not only is there well over 36,000 dead, the great majority of them are women and children, innocent women and children. So all of this obviously crosses Joe Biden's red line. He said, if you do a ground offensive in Rafah, we'll cut off the munitions. Now, have they?
They're not. There's no red line, guys.
There's no red line.
So let me I gotta jump in on this, okay? I don't wanna hear another word from Joe Biden or his campaign about how Trump is a threat to democracy. Because how are you gonna argue that we live in a democracy as Biden is, at this very moment, giving Democrats, 2/3 of which want a ceasefire in Gaza, the middle finger, essentially telling them, listen, your votes, your opinions as the Democratic voting base doesn't matter to me at all. The only thing that matters to Biden is whether or not the AIPAC checks clear.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering why you have a growing population of Americans who are like, maybe democracy isn't really all that. Maybe we should think about other systems of government rather than a liberal democracy. Could it be that it's not just Trump that's trying to dismantle it? Could it be that the Democratic Party has also played a role in dismantling our democracy, in changing the minds of Americans in regard to valuing our democracy, because it's clearly not working when you have the majority of your voters demanding a ceasefire, and as the Democratic president who's seeking re-election, you're giving them the middle finger and telling them to F off as you send more of these bombs that have been funded by US taxpayers to Israel.
Yeah, let me back that up in a couple different ways. So he says he has a red line in Rafah. So now, Antony Blinken, our Secretary of State, has been put in this humiliating position. If you remember Baghdad Bob from the Iraq War, he was Saddam Hussein's spokesperson. And he would say, oh, we are defeating the Americans. And the Americans have not been able to make it into Baghdad. And you would see American tanks behind him. He looked like the biggest idiot in the world. And now that's Antony Blinken, our Secretary of State. In order to pretend that they didn't cross the red line, Blinken is out there saying there is no ground offensive in Rafah. But we see Israeli tanks in the middle of Rafah with our own eyes. So Blinken is made to go out there and lie on behalf of Netanyahu like a moron, like a fool, like a pathetic fool.
They're so embarrassing.
So now, remember Biden said, oh my God, I'm so angry about October 7th. We're gonna do whatever we can to help Israel. Okay, that all makes sense. But then he added the lie about the headless babies. Okay, so that turned out to be a lie disproven by Israeli press as well as US press. So, but in the Rafah attack, there actually was a headless child. And a lot of you have probably seen it already online, right? And it's confirmed by the press.
Horrific.
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. And Biden looks at it and goes, doesn't cross my red line. Because Palestinian lives doesn't mean anything to him.
He had the State Department put out this embarrassing report alleging that Israel has not committed war crimes, thus or has not basically prevented humanitarian aid from entering the Gaza Strip. So Biden could have an excuse for continuing to send weaponry to Israel.
Another State Department official resigned just now saying, we're just lying on behalf of Israel. Of course they violated this restriction. It's not even close. They're forcing us to lie for a foreign government. It's insanity. So now let's go to the elections. Guys, this for us, policy and politics are very different. So is Donald Trump bad on this? Yeah, he's awful on this. He said that he would not only arrest anyone protesting Israel, but he would deport them. He would deport American citizens to where? It doesn't matter. He says, I will serve Israel better than Joe Biden. I will serve the right wing of Israel, Netanyahu and these neocon warmongers better than Joe Biden. He says he'll put the peace protests, he'll set them back 25 to 30 years. So yeah, I get it, Trump's a monster. Yeah, I get it, Trump might even be worse than Biden on this. But that doesn't excuse what Biden is doing. You can't say, oh, not only did I greenlight a genocide, I gave $20 billion of your money to continue this genocide, but Trump is worse. No, Biden is maximum evil on this. Maximum. Look, guys, we didn't give them the $20 billion at the beginning of the war, which would have been somewhat understandable after October 7th. We gave them the money just a couple of weeks ago, after we've seen all of the horrors and the starvation and all of these 36,000 dead. And the US Congress, the overwhelming majority of them, loaded up with $100 million of AIPAC money. That's a fact. Joe Biden loaded up with $11.2 million of AIPAC money throughout his career. Said, I see no evil, I hear no evil. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cash that check from AIPAC and I'm going to serve those lobbyists. Now they serve lobbyists when it comes to drug companies, oil companies, defense contractors, etc. What AIPAC is doing is they're kind of giving away the game, that the lobbyists control our entire government, which goes back to Anna's point. It's not that the Republicans are any better, guys, but a lot of Americans are beginning to ask, what democracy? Both the corporate Republicans and the corporate Democrats will do anything the lobbyists pay them for, whether it's on Israel or any other issue. So what democracy are we protecting? All this is just legalized bribery, and the rich and the powerful control American government about 100%. What democracy?
I want to be clear about something. Donald Trump says a lot of stupid things, okay? His rhetoric is incredibly moronic and stupid. But I believe that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are exactly the same when it comes to their actions in regard to Israel. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
There's no difference. Okay, I don't want to hear anything about how, Trump would be so much worse. Trump would be so much worse. How much worse can you get from Biden on this issue?
I mean, Biden just said, basically, through our money, I don't think Israel has killed enough Palestinians. I want to send them $20 billion, $17 billion directly. He's already sent them $3 billion worth of weapons. He keeps sending them weapons. Kill more Palestinians, kill more Palestinians, kill more Palestinians. And then goes, Trump could be worse. Wow, what a great case you're making. So look, finally, Joe Biden has cost himself about 25 to 30 points among young voters.
Excellent, good job, Biden.
Young voters that he desperately needs to win the election. So he's lost Muslim and Arab votes. They're a smaller group, but that group could make a giant difference in places like Michigan and yes, Minnesota. You think Minnesota's guaranteed? I don't think it's guaranteed at all, okay? And then, but a much larger group of young voters. But then, guys, there's a third group that nobody talks about. Independents who look at Biden going, oh, well, I gave strong words to Netanyahu. I told him not to do this. I have a red line. And then he comes out the next day and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Netanyahu. I didn't mean to criticize you. Here's 3 billion, here's 17 billion. Here's all the money in the world. Americans, shut up and give that money. Hey, everybody, go arrest anyone criticizing Israel. If you're doing a protest of Israel, has Joe Biden spoken out against it? No, he said that the protesters should be arrested. So yeah, Trump threatens to arrest and deport the protesters, but that's hypothetical. And I got no interest in Trump. I don't want to hear about how Trump is better. He constantly promises that he would be worse. But if you're Joe Biden and the arrest happened in your watch, and they passed a bill in the House saying it will be illegal for Americans to criticize Israel. This is all under Joe Biden. So the independents look at that and go, so this guy is both pathetic and corrupt, can be pushed around by any foreign leader, and is obviously serving the lobbyists and is not serving America. Because the overwhelming majority of his own voters say, please stop, for God's sake, please stop. And Biden goes, no, I will not stop. I don't care about the headless babies. I don't care about the people burned alive. I don't care that there's a stadium full of women and children that have been massacred. I don't care that Netanyahu is trying to start a giant war we're gonna have to fight on their behalf. I don't care about anything as long as the check clears. So I've got no interest in Joe Biden. You can decide who to vote for. I haven't made up my mind on who to vote for. They're both monsters. I just don't want to hear any propaganda about how Joe Biden is such a wonderful, sweet, empathetic man, and he cares so much. No, he doesn't care about human lives at all. Last thing, I do town halls on Wednesday for our viewers. It's Operation Hope, where we try to bring hope into the world because of all this darkness. And an African-American woman said something really powerful in the town hall last night. She said, if Biden treats them like this, like the Palestinian lives aren't worth anything, do I think that he thinks my life is worth anything? I don't think so.
He doesn't care about any of our lives. American doctors trapped in Gaza couldn't be bothered to do a damn thing about it and had one of his State Department cronies do a presser and talk about how complicated it is to get Americans out of Gaza because our ally is preventing us from getting them out.
Okay, so give me the goddamn 20 billion back.
I'm not interested.
You're not letting our citizens out? Give me the 20 billion back.
I'll never vote for Biden. I'll never vote for him. He disgusts me. And if you get offended by that, be offended. I don't care. How am I gonna vote for this guy who's allowing the slaughter of innocent people, including literal babies in Gaza?
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.